world is a stage, and men and women are merely players. These are the words from the play of Shakespeare, Twelfth Night. Welcome to our new program, The World of Shakespeare. In this program, we will talk about Shakespeare, his early life, his education, and his literary contribution. And in this program, my participant will be Naqiya Zainab Alvi, and she is sixth semester student of BS English. Welcome to our program.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for the introduction. And yeah, I'm excited for this journey to begin because we all know that Shakespeare as well. When we talk about Shakespeare, it's like a classic thing. It's a drama thing. We hear English before, I guess, and we say Shakespeare. Everyone knows that. So it's really nice to explore that avenue.
And thank you so much for your time. And we will explore the life of Shakespeare and his plays, his, the literary contribution and what the contribution he has made to the English literature, English language. So firstly, let's talk about why we need literature, why we need fiction. So what the fiction do to our lives? Fiction provide escapism. When we read fiction, when we watch a movie or we watch a certain drama or a short story or anything we consume for our leisure, so it's provide us escapism. So we read fiction. We read fiction for catharsis and to get motivation for our life struggles, because we all have our journeys, we all have our struggles. So the characters we see in any drama or film or in a novel especially, so we get motivation through these characters. So the purpose of the program is to equip you with the knowledge of literature, specifically the Shakespeare, the play he wrote, the legacy he left behind. So we will explore these things and will share our learning with you as well. So yeah, let's start the program, The World of Shakespeare. And firstly, we will talk about his life, his early life. So if we will talk about his birthplace, so he was born in England, Stratford upon Avon, and Naqiya will tell you about his birthplace, his schooling as well.
Yeah, so what's surprising is that like Shakespeare has lived more than 400 years ago, right? And there hasn't been much record of his early life. No documentation and no, like, no letters to his
Yes.
friends or family, nothing like that, nothing personal that connects you with Shakespeare as a person in his early life. What we have of the knowledge we have, the documentation we have, is the legal documents, is birth certificate, marriage license, and these kind of stuff. So the early record we actually find of Shakespeare is him being baptized, and that was on 26th April 1564.
So baptization is the ritual in which you introduce a person introduced into Christian religion. It's basically a bath is given to a baby in church, so that is called baptization. So yeah, you can continue.
So he was baptized there, and it was actually a tradition that a baby would be baptized 3 days after his birth. So it can be estimated that his birth was 23rd April, which is actually the St. George's, day for them, and it's a significant day for them as well. So yeah, basically Shakespeare, when we talk about his family life, right, we talk about his father and mother. His father, John Shakespeare, was actually a leather merchant and a glove maker.
Yes.
And what he was essentially middle class, not from a well-off family, though he was connected to a wealthy family from his mother's side. His mother, if I'm right, Mary
Yes.
Arden, right?
Yes.
And Arden family was actually a very wealthy family. So
His mother was from influential
yeah,
family.
influential family. So that's where he gets connected with it. His father later on tried different avenues and explored and became an
Yes.
alderman and a bailiff later on. Bailiff is like close to what we will say a sheriff, that kind of thing. And alderman is the next person to a mayor, in terms of when we talk about politics and stuff. So his father did become like quite substantial and quite financially okay with quite hefty money. But unfortunately for William Shakespeare, what happened is that money ran out before he could come of age.
Okay.
So talking about his siblings, there were two sisters before him, but they did not survive infancy, and they died. And so, even though William Shakespeare was not the first child, he was raised as the elder son, to the rest of the siblings. And
At
unfortunately,
that time, the healthcare facilities were not that much good. That's why the mortality rate, child
of
mortality
course.
rate was so high.
And of course, and the Black Plague was also the Black Death.
Yes.
Yeah, it was also going around. So we can see why it was there. And it was actually, I was reading this article about Shakespeare, and it was really funny to hear that people thought that his greatest achievement was not the legacy he left behind, was actually the years he survived, the first year of his life, because the
Yes.
condition actually was so bad at that time for. And of course, whenever we have gone through COVID as well, and we know how quickly these viruses, these infections affect babies and children first. So they need that medical assistance, which was not available at that time. So yeah, and his what's the tragedy of it? One of his sister later on, after he in his younger siblings, also died because of this, the medical issues and stuff. So he did suffer from loss from very early on in his life. We can see that. That is just about it. That is recorded of his like family life, and then it's about his marriage, which was to Anne Hathaway, and yeah.
Before marriage, I want to talk about his early education. At the age of 7, there are records that he got training of Latin language as well, because we know that he has made tremendous contribution to English literature. He has, added 3,000 words almost to English literature.
Amazing.
So I think we have to talk about his literary training as well. And he started like training of in Latin language, and he also read some renowned historians, poets as well. So that is also he got exposure of the language at the very early age.
I was talking about his father being, influential in his early stages of life. So that helped him get a very good education at New King's School, I believe is the name of the school he went to in Stanford, and he received his early education there, and he studied classical Latin and Greek and all the mythologies there. And he also got connected with very famous playwrights and writers at the time, which include Ovid, Virgil, Cicero, all these poets and stuff from different languages, which actually contributed to his knowledge about these, where we say they came from Latin and Greek, that kind of stuff. So yeah, of course, him being Shakespeare. And what's surprising is because there is no record of him going to a university or a college.
Yes.
So people actually
Yes.
have this big debate on it that
Yes.
his work is not his. Imagine saying to Shakespeare, okay, he is not the one who wrote this. So
And Ben Jonson regarded him that he is not for an age, but he is for all the time. He belongs to all ages. And he was also criticized by other critics as well, and he was also called an upstart crow, a crow who wears the feathers of other birds. So yeah, there is a debate that he was not like a graduate from Oxford or a well renowned institute, but despite the fact, he made like the greatest contribution among all the writers.
Yeah, I think one of the thing that does come in effect with this is the fact that he connected with the middle class as well, the people that were, in the middle class, and he wrote from their language as well as
Yes.
connecting with the higher,
Yes.
higher language and
Yes.
elevated language. So
Yes.
that really enhanced his playwriting, that it brought the basic emotions like we see in his plays, that they're very simple themes we suffer from in daily life, but doing that in such an impactful way is what makes him Shakespeare.
Yes, and if we read his plays, we see that these plays are the reflection of society at that time, and their characters have a quest for meaning. And they have their flaws, they have their shortcomings, but they have a quest for meaning. They have some goal, or they have some there's something they are chasing. So yeah, that's the beauty of his writing.
Exactly.
And then we'll move to his marriage. You were talking about
Yeah.
that.
So his marriage was to Anne Hathaway, and basically, uh, it's it's the fact that there's not much record of it, just his marriage to Anne Hathaway, and then his children, which were three. He had three daughters, one uh, and two twins, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
One of his daughter died again, and two of from the twins, one another died after giving birth to a
yes.
baby, and then one survived, and her children actually died. So there's no,
Descendant of
yeah,
Shakespeare, yes,
descendant of Shakespeare.
yes.
And I was actually reading about this sad reality. The first person, the first historian to actually go and check the records for Shakespeare was alive at the time his daughter was alive, and none of them thought that, okay, we can go and interview her, you know. So that was actually sad reality, because they could have known so much more about Shakespeare's life, about his way of
Yes,
thinking, his way of life, and really connect to where those writings, where they came from, because now it's all a mystery. It's a beauty in it, of course,
yes.
but still.
And I think that there's also a mysterious and weird fact about Shakespeare, that he died on the same day he
I
was
was
born.
born, yeah.
So yeah, this is, I think, interesting and weird as well. And also he has like no, not so much wealth left behind him, and there was only a bed left to his wife. So he was a wealthy man in his life, but he left no wealth behind him. So yeah, let's talk about his like influence of theater on his life. So he came to know about different actors, because as you were talking about, that his father was an influential person. So we were also talking about his training of Latin as well. So what is your opinion, that if a child, or we can say the person, is taking training in Latin and other languages as well, and he is also a well-read person in his childhood, so how can a person can become a dramatist to such an extent? What is your take on that? There is a luck involved in it, or there?
I think there's a lot of you can say curiosity involved in it. When you are a good reader, you're a good learner,
Yes,
and you
yes.
have that base knowledge, and you
Hmm.
want to learn more, you do explore that avenue. Of course, we when we talk about people with great knowledge or early education, there are many writers with the same, or
Hmm.
even more, that went to great universities like Oxford and Cambridge and this kind of stuff. But when we talk about Shakespeare, we see that his knowledge ended. The education we received at school or in
Hmm.
an institution, that ended in
Hmm.
his early life from that school.
Hmm.
So there's no record of him going to, or he didn't even go to university or college, right? So where his education comes in play is his curiosity, because he was
Yes,
curious, he explored. Because he explored, that's why he excelled.
yes.
So that is my take on why
Yes,
Shakespeare.
and also he borrowed the stories from other literature as well,
Exactly.
from Russian and from other renowned literature. So I think that is also the beauty.
Of
And
course.
also in his writing and his tenure, he also collaborated with many writers. So I think he also invented the trend of collaboration and
Exactly.
adaptation. So we can also say that this thing as well, that he invented the art of collaboration and adaptation as well.
Of course, and the beauty of him knowing a different language and
Mm.
actually knowing these other writers from other, is
Yes,
like integrating those cultures and those new
yes,
ideas and new themes that were not actually very common in the English world, right? So bringing those themes and those things into the English theater was surprising for them, and even though it's the same stories but in a different way and a different culture and a different avenue, so it really fascinated the people and it really resonated with them to bring that. So we can say after, of course, it was right after the English Reformation.
hmm.
So what we can say is that really brought people connected more to it, because people were looking for a change and people were very accepting of that change to happen.
And there is also an interesting fact to share, that Shakespeare is the second most quoted English writer after the writer of Bible. The first quoted book is Bible, and the second most quoted English writer is Shakespeare. That also, after that, let's come to his literary contribution. And at this time, there are also adaptation of his
Hmm.
work, like there is a Bollywood movie Heather made on his play Hamlet, and there are other movies as well, like Othello. There is movie named Omkara. So there are adaptations at this time as well, there are many adaptations, there are movies made based on his plays as well. So, Nakia, tell us about his plays and his
Before
adaptation.
moving on to his plays, I just want to add this
Hmm.
beautiful thing about Shakespeare that I really like is that the fact that uh, uh, it is believed that he did himself act as well in his early years.
Yes.
So that really impacted his knowledge of stage acting and acting
Hmm.
as a craft and
Yes.
how to go about a stage, how to perform a scene, where should it end. So that knowledge really
Hmm.
reflects upon how he wrote and how it really you see the expertise and in his writing, and it's really amazing to see that in play.
Shakespeare lived a double life because he lived in England and he used to come in his town as well. And he, after his success, he named his home as Stafford Home. And he was a favorite man of King James as well. And it is believed that Shakespeare was Catholic, and at that time it was very difficult time for
Mm,
Catholics.
yeah.
But due to his his relation, or we can say his cordial relationship with King James, he survived that time.
Yeah. Moving, going just further along about your comment about that he lived a double life.
Hmm.
His everything you read about Shakespeare is like two lives:
Yes.
London and the one he left behind in Stanford.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, there are accounts of things that because he used to work in London for so long, and his major work
Hmm.
life was in London so long. So when he came back, it was just a simple man, like taking everything off, taking that writer cape off, and just
Hmm.
being a father and a husband to his family. So that is really nice to read. So there is actually a London
Hmm.
no, a company named Lord's Chamberlainmen,
Yes.
which Shakespeare got involved in. And at the start, he was just acting with them and just wrote plays for them or corrected plays for them.
Hmm.
And but after that, he became very involved with their plays and
Hmm.
started actually writing with them, and being an active contributor to a point that he became a shareholder of that. Uh, those that company.
Yes.
And that company actually performed in the Globe as well.
Another important thing I want to discuss, that females were not allowed to perform on stage at the time of Shakespeare's writing. So what was happened, that a male used to play the female character as well. They used to wear the female costume, and they used to play the female characters as well. So this is also interesting. And after that, I think it was during his time that
Mhm.
females started like playing
Okay.
female roles.
Yeah, I cannot imagine Juliet going about her day with a man.
Yes,
That would be
but it used to happen.
surprising.
Welcome back, listeners. You are watching and listening the program World of Shakespeare. Listeners, we are talking about Shakespeare early life, his education, and his literary contribution. And so far, we have covered his early life and his education and his, some life struggles as well. As we know that he is, English poet, playwright, and widely regarded as the greatest writer of English literature, the most quoted writer of English literature, and he's also the national poet of England, also called as Bard of Heaven. And when it comes to his writing, he has wrote almost 39 plays. Uh, in some references, we find that he wrote 37 plays, but two plays he wrote in collaboration with other writers. So yes, we were discussing about his writing and his, some influences, some experience, some of his life experience that shaped him, that made him the greatest writer. And he was very, we can say that he was very productive, and on average he wrote a play in almost 1.5 years. So yes, he was the, acclaimed dramatist. And if we talk about his characterization, so his characters, are the reflection of the middle class, the ordinary men, their struggles and their, their ambitions, their flaws. So yes, we have covered his early life and education, and in the coming episodes we will talk about his plays as well. And also, one interesting fact to tell you, that UNESCO regarded the the birth date, the 23rd April. uh, they regarded this day as the National Day of Book, to to honor the his literary contribution. So 23rd April is the National Day of Book. Nakia, we have Nakia as well, who is sharing her learning of Shakespeare. So Nakia, I our the program, the duration of the program is short. So I want to take your message for the audience, that why the writings of Shakespeare, reading his dramas, is relevant in this era. Because there are so many things. There is social media. There is the influence of AI in our languages as well, in our daily lives as well. We consume so much social media. So why do you think that literature is important, and why specifically the plays of Shakespeare or the dramas of Shakespeare are necessary to read in this age?
Well, Riba, I think that language, when we talk about English as a language, it's
Hmm.
literally the embodiment of whatever Shakespeare has written in his plays, right? We
Yes,
talk about
no
language
doubt.
enrichment, we talk about understanding the basics of human nature, the emotional maturity, and just the contemporary issues is because he talks about them in his plays. So it's really, really I guess, pivotal to understand the cultural and literary heritage that his
Hmm.
plays carry and his sonnets carry, and everything he has written is so universal, and it's like it would always remain alive,
It belongs to all
all
ages.
ages. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Be all and end all, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's what Shakespeare is all about. So learning his plays
Hmm.
through his language, through his eyes, is really important.
Yes, and thank you so much, Nikia, for giving us your precious time. And we'll conclude this episode here. And in the coming episodes, we'll talk about his plays, because he's the greatest dramatist of all time. So we will explore, the complexities and themes and the characterization. In the coming episodes, we'll talk about his characters. We'll talk about his most celebrated plays, Hamlet, Twelfth Night. So the coming episodes will be more exciting. Stay tuned for more literary discussion. Till then, take care. Allah Hafiz.